has a part to play in the latter part of your life. That's why it's good to be old, because you're making up on all the things that you made mistakes with. Well, I shall tell you that I am Eleanor Naomi Craig. And so when I was born, it was Good Friday, April 6, 1917, the very day that the United States declared war on Germany, the year, the month, and the day. Can you believe that? I'll tell you my first experience of being on the stage and speaking, and I found that I loved it. I was only 3. And we went to Macedonia Church. I was in the beginners class. We didn't even have a name for us, but we were the little children. And then they said, and a recitation now from Naomi Jennings. And I got up and my teacher took my hand and I went up on the platform. And I remembered I had to hold my dress like this and I had to bow. And so I held my dress and I bowed. And I could see my mother, her mouth was going, saying my piece for me. And I watched her, and then I bowed again, and I looked at her, and I said, little children of the King, have a word to say, just a little verse to bring, for this is Children's Day. And I bowed, and I came down, and my teacher gave me a big fat bunny, and I was so happy. And I said, oh, I like this, because I thought every time I said a recitation, I'd be having a big bunny. My mother never worked. My mother was always home. My mother could cook. And this is what my mother did. Every afternoon we came from school, when the 2 sessions were over at night. We either had gingerbread, or we had some kind of a spice cookie, or something with molasses in it. My father was a stevedore. He worked on Narragansett Electric Company. He was called the boss stevedore. He did all the hiring of all the people that lived around this way. Whenever a boat came in, he knew just how many men it would take and how long it would take. He had to figure that all out. I never saw my father much when I was little because they worked on the boats. Well, I went to high school. I went to commercial. But while I was there, it changed to Central. And I took a commercial course. I was the only colored girl that took shorthand and typing. I loved it. I used to take down the minister's sermons in shorthand, type it out, and he would be so thrilled. He said, oh, you can do this. While he was talking, I could take it down. And I practiced all the time. When I got out of school, there wasn't one job. I said to the teacher, all of these girls that I've taught, all of these girls that I had to help, they're finding jobs, and I'm not finding any. So she called up downtown. And she said, Naomi, you can go down. You have an appointment. So I went down. I was dressed. I had blue shoes. I had a blue suit and a white blouse. And I had a navy blue hat with a little white around the edge. I was looking good. I went down there. There was this crummy-looking little woman. Yes, she said. You're Miss Jennings? I said, yes. She said, well, we have a job for you up on East Side taking care of these twins. I said, oh, and she said, and that's a good job, and I think you should be glad to take it. I said, but what time would I be having for my shorthand and typing? Oh, my dear, she said, there's a depression on. Didn't you know it? And if the white girls can't find jobs, what makes you think that you can find one? I said, I didn't think working in an office had anything to do with the color of my skin. I thought it had to do with my ability. I said, see, I have a certificate for 100 words a minute in shorthand, 80 words a minute in typing, and I can't get a job? She said, I'm sorry. She said, but that's just the way it is. And I said, well, thank you. She said, you don't want the job? I said, no, thank you. And I just went out. And you know, I didn't even know I was crying. If she had taken an arrow and shot me in the heart, she couldn't have been more effective. I think that I feel better about myself because I have helped young people keep a vision. I have seen young people getting ready to give up, and I have been there to say, don't give up now. Things are going to be better, and I've held on to them. I wasn't thinking about myself. because I knew whatever happened to me, I had been through it. But I felt that I was put here to help any other young person that had a dream, and I would stay with that person until that person would make that dream come true. I met Horace. I knew him when he went to Pond Street Church, but then I saw him at Federal Products, and we started to go together. And then I just kept saying, oh, I don't want him married during the war, and he kept getting, I don't know what you call it, a reprieve. And the next thing I knew, he said, well, if we're going to get married, we have to get married now, because I might not, get a stay again. And so I said, well, all right. So we married on the 22nd of October, and he left on the 25th. In 1994, I started. And when I was preaching at Sheldon Street Church, I could stand before the people and say, I never went to a divinity school, I never went to theological school, but I had a relationship with God. I knew him as my Father, and I could portray him as someone who cared for our congregation. And when people would come into the church, they would sense the very presence of God, because I knew we have a God that cares about us, a sustaining force, that in spite of whatever happens, he's there. That's exactly what has made me who I am and what I am, the sustaining force of God, because I understood it, I realized it, and I could rest in it. I didn't have to fight for it. He was there.